Chapter 2188. Changes in the Original Realm. Chapter 2188. Changes in the Original Realm. Naturally, the practitioners from the Heavenly Mandate Academy also saw the figure with the white head. It felt like it was a dream. 20 years ago, he was regarded as the #1 prodigy of the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. However, he was envied by many, and the factions of the 9 realms did not allow him to live. Several divine prefecture factions, the Shen clan, Golden Divine Nation, Tianshan Academy, Sky Reaching School, Martial God Clan, Solar Divine Palace, Celestial Worthy Temple, School of the Emperor Star, and the Holy Land of Taichu allied together to annihilate Yi Futian in front of the world. Since then, the #1 prodigy of the 3,000 realms of the Great Path had died. Many practitioners felt a huge sense of grief. In 20 years, the 3,000 realms of the Great Path had undergone tremendous changes. Nowadays, fewer and fewer people talked about him. This legendary person who had died was gradually being forgotten. However, on this day, leading a group of practitioners, he had reappeared in the sky above the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Yi Futian was still alive. The #1 prodigy of the 3,000 realms of the Great Path had come back alive. In an instant, the Heavenly Mandate Academy erupted in chaos. Almost everyone in the academy knew who Yi Futian was. Even practitioners who joined the academy later had witnessed Yi Futian's prowess and strength in the past. He was a powerful practitioner in the Heavenly Mandate realm. How many had not witnessed his stylish and peerless displays in the past? Many practitioners even had tears in their eyes. They were ecstatic. In the Heavenly Mandate realm, many practitioners idolized Yi Futian. He had long become the symbol of the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Even though he was not the college chief, he was still a totemistic character. Tons of his juniors who had never even spoken to him before had nothing but respect for him. The peerless figure who dominated an era and overshadowed the other geniuses and prodigies across the realm with elegance had changed the structure of the 9 realms with his strength alone. However, it was perhaps also his peerlessness and sharpness that led to the sad ending. Nonetheless, it did not influence the respect countless people felt for him. It was a respect that came from the bottom of their hearts. Now, seeing Yi Futian return, none could describe the emotion that they were feeling. He was actually alive. At that moment, Yi Futian lowered his head and looked at the elder, his eyes slightly pink, and said, "I'm back." As he spoke, he landed on the ground. He walked until he was in front of Lord Taixian. The relationship between Lord Taixian and Yi Futian was not that of a simple master-disciple relationship. Lord Taixian was an elder who truly took care of him. Since Yi Futian cultivated at Taixian Mountain, Lord Taixian had taken extra care of him and treated him like family. After the Heavenly Mandate Academy was founded, Lord Taixian became the college chief. Now seeing Lord Taixian hurt, one could only imagine what Yi Futian was feeling. "Who is it?" Yi Futian asked, an eerie coldness tinged in his tone. He was naturally asking about the perpetrator who had injured Lord Taixian. However, a bright smile of pure joy and happiness was the only thing in Lord Taixian's eyes that showed the vicissitudes of life. Clearly, he did not mind the injury. He replied softly, "It is not important. I am relieved now that I see that you are back. Over these past 20 years, I had begun to suspect that you had tricked us back then." Behind Lord Taixian, Huan Yinyu with her reddish eyes looked at Yi Futian and shouted softly, "Brother-in-law." She still remembered everything when she was young. Back then, she had no worries. Her sister and brother-in-law took care of her, Grandpa Xian pampered her, and the people at the academy loved her. Then, after her brother-in-law left, she seemed to have grown up in one night. Now that her brother-in-law was back, she felt great. Yi Futian raised his head to look at the woman behind Lord Taixian. An elvish-looking beauty, she looked similar to Jiyu, just as beautiful. In an instant, Yi Futian's gaze became soft and his smile warm. "Little Nianyu, you've grown up." Yi Futian lamented in his heart. 20 years was not a long time for practitioners on a higher plane. It was but a flick of a finger. However, for Nianyu it was her youth, the best time of her life. And they did not provide her with enough sense of security. This made Yi Futian feel guilty. He still remembered going to the city of Qingzhou to pick up Ninu back in the day. Back then, he swore to take good care of little Ninu until she grew up. However, he went to the divine prefecture, and 20 years had passed. One of the most important periods of Ninu's life. Yes. Ninu nodded slightly. She felt a sense of familiarity and strangeness both at the same time. The strangeness was because it had been too long, and the familiarity was her memories of Yi Futian had never faded away. She had never forgotten that period of the wonderful time when she was growing up. It was one of the best times of her life. She was like a princess who was pampered and protected by everyone. Where's your sister? How is she? Yi Futian suddenly felt worried. Also, what about Yu Sheng, Wuxia and the others? Why do I not see them anywhere? They've left, Ninu said softly. Left? Yi Futian was stunned. Then Lord Taixian said, after you left, many things happened. Princess Donghuang personally witnessed the battle before you left. All the factions agreed that all grudges and rivalries ended with your death. So, after your disappearance, Princess Donghuang gathered a group of people to head to the divine prefecture to cultivate and train. All the practitioners who possessed a perfect grade divine will could go. Jiu Yi Wuchen, Gu Donglu and Dozhao left. They have not been back since. Like you, they have been gone for over 20 years. They went to the divine prefecture. Yi Futian was stunned. This was something that did not occur to him at all. Moreover, Princess Donghuang was the one who led them, and just like himself, they had been gone and have not returned in over 20 years. When would they come back? Yu Sheng, he went with Mei Ting, said Lord Taixian. Devil General Mei Ting. Yi Futian's pupil shrunk. He was just worried that if Yu Sheng was with Princess Donghuang, would they discover something about him? However, it turned out that Yu Sheng had chosen another path and left with Mei Ting. He knew that Yu Sheng's relationship with the devil world could never be severed. This relationship ran very deep. Mei Ting came a few times specifically to look for Yu Sheng. It should be fine. Back then, Mei Ting respected Yu Sheng's decision. It was Yu Sheng himself who chose to head to the devil world, said Lord Taixian. Yi Futian nodded. He completely understood Yu Sheng's choice. Seeing himself surrounded and pursued by various factions, Yu Sheng also suffered in his heart and felt immense anger. He wanted to become stronger. So he chose to head to the devil world. Even though his future was filled with uncertainties, Yu Sheng knew that the devil world was a cultivation holy land for him. He could only grow rapidly in the devil world. As such, he chose to leave with Mei Ting. With that, Yi Futian wondered when he would be able to see Yu Sheng again. Yi Futian lamented in his heart. People close to him, his lover, his friends, they were no longer here. Everything was related to that battle. His death made the people close to him choose paths that would help them grow faster. That was why each of them had chosen to leave this realm. Apart from that, after you left, there have been a lot of major changes in the original realm, said Lord Taixian. He then continued. In the battle with the three major factions, the two factions that you defeated, the Dark Court and the Empty Divine Realm, were quiet for some time. However, after a while, they began to commit atrocities throughout the original realm. They even destroyed many realms. Destroyed realms. Yi Futian's pupil shrunk. Yes. Do you still remember the incident in the Shadow Realm? Lord Taixian asked. Yi Futian naturally remembered. The power of Yin was inside the Shadow Realm, and he had obtained that power. The Solar Realm also contains the divine power of the Sun. The Divine Prefecture faction in the upper worlds, the Sun God Mountain, never left that realm. The Dark Court thought that every realm in the 3,000 realms of the Great Path contained ancient treasures. As such, they began to destroy the weaker realms, and they ended up destroying many realms. They had even destroyed the Hidden Land Realm, a realm that they previously controlled. Indeed, they certainly did discover mighty divine powers. However, many realms within the 3,000 realms of the Great Path were destroyed. Their acts have certainly plunged many people into misery and suffering, said Lord Taixian. Yi Futian's heart was cold. The original realm was said to be the world before the heavenly path crumbled. Even though it was later discarded, it was still the original realm. It was likely due to this that the opponents began to wreak havoc and inflict mass destruction. In addition, Many practitioners even searched in the boundless space outside the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. In truth, many practitioners from other realms had already been doing this before the Divine Prefecture's chaotic period. In fact, the original realm no longer has that many cultivation resources left. However, they seem to want to squeeze out and extract all remaining value left in the realm, and they really did manage to find several such sites. Later, the Divine Prefecture also sent people over to the original realm to stop them. However, the number of cultivators from the Dark World kept increasing, while the factions from the Divine Prefecture kept arriving, all of which has led to the current chaos in the original realm. Futian listened quietly. He would never have thought that the original realm would be turned upside down 20 years after he had left. No wonder the Imperial Palace gathered practitioners from the Divine Prefecture to come to the original realm. It looked like a chaotic battle was about to take place in the original realm. Perhaps this was why Dong Huang the Great sealed the original realm back then. After 300 years, the original realm had again become not peaceful. At that time, who knew how many powerful beings were gathered in the original realm? Younger brother. A voice appeared. Futian shifted his gaze towards the figure approaching the courtyard of the academy. Instantly, Futian withdrew all the negative emotions he was feeling, and a bright smile appeared on his face. Several figures entered the courtyard and approached them. A sense of familiarity washed over Futian. Futian called them out one by one. Each was someone familiar and close to him. Zhuge Mingyue, Hua Fenglu, Nanda Wenin Qi Xiangang, Dozhan, Zhuge Qifeng and others. Everyone appeared in front of him. Seeing that they were all well and good, Futian naturally felt happy, and as such, a bright smile appeared on his face. While the Heavenly Mandate Academy had undergone a tribulation, everyone was fine. Only the guardian of the Heavenly Mandate Academy, Lord Taixian, himself was seriously injured. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2189, Chaotic Original Realm. Chapter 2189, Chaotic Original Realm. Zhuge Mingyue, Hua Fenglu, Qi Xiangang, and the others were, naturally, extremely happy upon seeing Futian return. Bright smiles could be seen on each of their faces. Before Futian left, he had told these close friends and family that he would not die. However, everyone who had witnessed that last battle could not help but feel a little worried, particularly after 20 years without any news. How could they not worry after that? Now that they saw him return, the huge burden in their hearts could finally be released. Younger brother, you have become even more handsome now. Zhuge Mingyue walked over beside Futian. She sized him up from top to bottom, as if she was afraid that a piece of Futian's had gone missing. The Futian who left for 20 years had matured quite a bit. His aura had become even more exceptional. Before Futian left, he had already reached the cultivation level of a Runhuang. Now he was most certainly a lot stronger. His cultivation level was most likely the same as a big shot now. So naturally his aura was outstanding. Elder sister is also more and more beautiful. Futian smiled brightly. In front of his second sister, he still maintained some of the youthful disposition back then. How have you been all these years? Zhuge Mingyue asked Futian while looking at him. After 20 years outside, he had come back with so many amazing and powerful practitioners with him. He must have experienced and gone through a lot. I'm just like this. Don't worry about me, elder sister. I want to know what happened to the Heavenly Mandate Academy all these years. Also, how are our old friends? Futian asked. This was the thing that he most wanted to know. After hearing Futian's words, everyone became quiet. After a moment of silence, Qi Xiangang said, "Let's take a seat and talk." Yeah, let's wash off the dust of travel and properly welcome younger brother back first. Zhuge Mingyue nodded and smiled gently. After that, she instructed others to make preparations. Lord. Futian looked at Lord Taixian. You guys go ahead. I've grown old and enjoy the quiet. I won't disturb you young ones in your conversation. Lord Taixian replied with a gentle smile. Futian was stunned. Then from the side, Sky River Great Elder also said, Go ahead, Luo Shui, and I will stay here to accompany him. Then, I will also stay to accompany Grandpa Xian, Huan Yinyu said gently. Aren't you always missing your brother-in-law? Now that your brother-in-law is back, why are you accompanying me? Go accompany your brother-in-law and have a chat, said Lord Taishian with a gentle smile. Oh, replied Huan Yinyu. Yi Futian looked at Lord Taishian and did not say much. Then he said, all right then. Grandmaster, please do take care of Lord Taishian. Of course, said Sky River Great Elder while nodding. Yi Futian's group left the place. He had many questions, in particular, questions related to Lord Taishuan's injuries. However, Lord Taishian did not want to tell him about it. Since that was the case, he had no choice but to ask about it while avoiding Lord Taishian. Yi Futian's return caused the Heavenly Mandate Academy to become extremely lively. Every practitioner in the academy talked about his return. They wondered what Yi Futian's cultivation level was, as well as who those people who came with him were. However, they also knew that Yi Futian wanted to hang out with his close friends and family. So naturally, no one dared to disturb him. Inside the Heavenly Mandate Academy, Yi Futian gathered and chatted with his close ones for a long time, as if they had endless things to talk about. After so many years, he had missed so many people. And even though Yu Sheng and the others were not around, the people around him were also his family. He wanted to speak to each of them and ask them how they had been doing. Old Ma and the people from Four Corner Village sat quietly on the side. The people from the ancient royal family of Duan naturally did not disturb Yi Futian's gathering with his family. Moreover, at that moment, Duan Tianxiong was a little shocked. Naturally, he was able to see Yi Futian's status in the academy. He understood quickly after a simple scan using his divine consciousness. It was as if Yi Futian was the soul of the entire academy. What shocked him even more was that several mighty big shots were in the tiny academy in this lower world. Apart from the earlier Lord Taishian and Sky River Great Elder, there were still others inside the academy that showed Yi Futian standing in the lower worlds. However, it was not entirely surprising. Yi Futian was so exceptionally talented. It was inevitable that he would be such a famous, monster-like existence in this lower world. Just as they were casually chatting, a frightening aura spread to their location from afar. Yi Futian looked towards the source and sensed a group of powerful cultivators heading towards them. A frightening demonic aura shrouded their surroundings. What's going on? Yi Futian's pupil shrank. He stood up and with a flash appeared in the sky. He then saw many other familiar people there. The major clans of the demon realm, the cultivators of the Sky Demon Court, the Divine Dragon, and the Divine Elephant clans had arrived. Apart from that, the group leader was the sovereign of the Nantian Divine Kingdom, Emperor Nan. Emperor Nan looked just as elegant as ever. However, the conditions of the demonic clans were not as great. Many of the top demonic clan cultivators had bloodstains on their bodies. The Divine Elephant Emperor's large and muscular body was covered in bloodstains. What happened? Yi Futian's heart trembled. At the same time, when Emperor Nan and the others also saw Yi Futian and his group, they seemed perplexed. In particular, the cultivators of the major demonic clans. Their eyes opened wide and stared after they saw Yi Futian standing there. You're back. Emperor Nan was the first to regain his senses. A gentle smile appeared in his eyes. After 20 years of not seeing each other, the number one prodigy of the original realm had finally come back. Elder Emperor Nan. Yi Futian bowed slightly. After that, he looked at the elders from the demonic clans and asked, what is going on here? Clearly, Yi Futian had just returned and still had no idea what was going on. Come down first, then we'll speak, Qi Xinggang said. Yi Futian nodded. Then, the group descended from the sky and landed on the ground. At that moment, Yi Futian's head was filled with questions. He moved and left the main seat to Emperor Nan. Emperor Nan was the strongest person in their alliance. Moreover, he was considered kind to them and had constantly helped them fight in the past. The original realm has changed a lot. You should already know this, right? Emperor Nan asked Yi Futian. Yi Futian nodded slightly. Yes, I've heard, but I do not know the details. Now, inside the original realm, cultivators from the outside fill the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. In particular, the 9 supreme regions. The Heavenly Mandate Realm is also not an exception. Many practitioners from various factions have come to these places. Now, the Demon Realm has been occupied by the cultivators of the Dark Demon Clan. I went there earlier and brought them back to the academy, said Emperor Nan. The leaders of the main demon clans lowered their heads. They felt rather ashamed. Based in the Demon Realm, we never would have thought that we'd one day be exiled from there. Initially, we were unwilling to go, but there is no denying that we are weaker than them. So we can only accept it as it is. In truth, we had already moved out before. But we still have not given up. This time, Emperor Nan went with us to the Demon Realm and helped us get some of our clansmen over, said the Divine Elephant Emperor in his deep voice tinged with a slight sense of decadence. The Dark Demon Clan has powerful characters. Losing to them is natural. Nowadays, it is not only the Demon Realm. Even other places, including the Heavenly Mandate Realm, 10,000 Divine Mountain, the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven, are considering moving to the Heavenly Mandate Academy. By gathering together, our strength will also increase. Even though factions have their own respective teleportation grand matrices, the world is too chaotic nowadays. No one knows if they should hang on or give up. Emperor Nan said, "You came back at just the right time. What's up with Lord Taishuan's injuries? Also, what happened to the Xiao clan, Dou tribe, Yuanyang clan, and the clan of the Seven Slayers?" Yi Futian asked. Not great. After external forces entered the original realm and started occupying the 9 realms, many factions from the Divine Prefecture also came. I'm sure you remember the battle from 20 years ago. Even though those factions did not dare to touch us easily because of Princess Donghuang's orders. As the world changes, and with more powerful cultivators arriving from other realms, some of the factions have had reinforcements through clansmen from outer realms. Now they are raring to go again. In addition, the Shun clan in the upper worlds also sent cultivators here to join forces with the Tianshan Academy and the Martial God clan to pressure the Xiao and Yuanyang clans. It is also the same for the Dou tribe in the Ziwei realm, Emperor Nan explained slowly. As for Lord Taishuan's injury, it happened in the Heavenly Mandate realm. Now that multiple realms in the 3,000 realms of the Great Path have already been destroyed, even hidden land realms have become fertilizers for the dark forces. The solar and shadow realms are no longer great places for cultivation like in the past. Now some of the forces and factions have their eyes on the Heavenly Mandate realm. The first one on their sight was the Demon realm. They have already begun wreaking havoc and causing destruction. Apart from that, the Heavenly Mandate Academy has also become a target. Some of these factions believe that the Heavenly Mandate City is the entrance to the Heavenly Mandate realm. Yi Futian's pupils shrunk. He had experienced the incidents back in the Shadow Realm in the past. The Yuehua Divine Palace in the Shadow Realm disintegrated completely due to it. The goddess of the Yuehua Divine Palace, Changxi, also joined the Heavenly Mandate Academy to cultivate later. Those people directly opened up a passageway to the center of the realm in the area where the Yuehua Divine Palace was located in an attempt to obtain the power of Yin. The Void Realm is the original realm, the main world before the Heavenly Path crumbled. After the crumbling of the Heavenly Path, the 3,000 realms of the Great Path was formed. The 9 Supreme Imperial Realms are the cores of the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. The 9 realms were most suited for cultivation. Now that outsiders had their eyes on them, the 9 realms themselves have become like treasures. So this is why Lord Taishuan was injured? Yi Futian asked. Yes. Emperor Nan nodded. Also, it happened right inside the Heavenly Mandate City. Yi Futian spread his divine consciousness towards the Heavenly Mandate City. In an instant, it shrouded the entire area, and many practitioners inside the Heavenly Mandate City seemed surprised and slightly irritated. Who was the impudent fool who dared to do this? To actually scan the entire Heavenly Mandate City, without any reservations, using his or her divine consciousness. Was it another heavyweight from outer realms? Then, at that moment, Yi Futian sensed an immensely frightening and powerful aura. The person did not hold back, and sent an attack directly at his divine consciousness, which resulted in Yi Futian's divine consciousness withdrawing instantly. A powerful and domineering divine consciousness now shrouded around them. Emperor Nan raised his head to glance at it. At the same time, Duan Tianxiong and Old Ma frowned. Their divine consciousness shot out at the same time. Their gaze is extremely sharp. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. The wills of several titans rolled out with frightening force. Over half of the heavenly mandate city was able to sense that terrifying pressure of the Great Path, which felt like pressure from the heavens, and the Heavenly Mandate Academy was at the center. The wills of several titans rolled out with frightening force. Over half of the heavenly mandate city was able to sense that terrifying pressure of the Great Path, which felt like pressure from the heavens, and the Heavenly Mandate Academy was at the center. Countless cultivators looked at the sky right away, wondering what had happened. The people of the Heavenly Mandate realm were no longer surprised by such phenomena anymore. There had been too many extremely formidable people in recent years. Many of them were from the realm itself, and there had even been super battles before. Everyone knew that the origin realm was a realm within a realm, so they were no longer be as shocked as they used to be. However, they noted that the terrifying pressure seemed to have emanated from the Heavenly Mandate Academy, and they wondered, since when had so many terrifying people gathered at the academy? There were cultivators somewhere else in the city, and one of them emanated a terrifying aura. He looked up, and his eyes seemed to have seen right through space, and watched right above the academy, looking into what was going inside. He couldn't help but frown somewhat. There seemed to be two very powerful cultivators added to the side of the academy, and those two were people he had never seen before, whom he deduced to be from other realms. The wills of both parties clashed and parted. Back at the academy, Yi Futian looked at Emperor Nan. Old Ma then mumbled, "There seem to be many forces within this city." "Right." Emperor Nan nodded. "There are indeed several forces." "So that was them?" Yi Futian then asked Emperor Nan, who shook his head instead. "I could only say that they're in this as well. The Dark Court forces came before, then those of the Divine Prefecture. Yet those of Divine Prefecture are just like those of the Dark Court, as both wanted to destroy and plunder the Heavenly Mandate realm. In the eyes of such cultivators, the 9 supreme imperial realms were like a treasure trove. But they didn't just go all out right away, only voicing their intention to take the Heavenly Mandate Academy, so as to take control of the realm first." Emperor Nan elaborated further, causing Yi Futian to feel cold deep inside. The Dark Court came to the origin realm, and the cultivators from the Divine Prefecture should have repelled the ones from the Dark Court. Yet, that was not how things went. The forces from the Divine Prefecture all had their own agendas, and they were all thinking about plundering the realm as well. The Heavenly Mandate Academy had long become the symbol of the Heavenly Mandate realm. With the Violet Heavenly Palace and the Heavenly Mandate Dynasty annihilated, the 10,000 Divine Mountain, the Celestial Gate of Vast Heaven, and the forces of the Demon Realm had all aligned with the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Brahma's pure sky had actually long lost its influence, and the Heavenly Mandate Academy became the undisputed ruling force of the realm. Seizing the academy would be equal to seizing the entire Heavenly Mandate realm, and those forces would be able to do as they pleased by then. That is to say that there are a lot of forces who are in this then? Yi Futian asked. Emperor Nan nodded. A battle broke out above the academy just a month ago. Many forces joined that battle, and Lord Taishian put his life on the line to repel them. He succeeded in intimidating them, causing them to give up for the time being. My current level of powers meant that going all out would be of little help. It was due to reinforcements from all sides coming to the Academy's aid that ended up intimidating those people, preventing those foreign forces from slaughtering everyone there. Now be it the Dou tribe, the Xiao clan, or the Yuanyang clan, everyone was having a hard time. Our former enemies are now leaning on all of them, said a voice. Lord Taishian and the others were walking up to them. Lord Taishian then added, "The origin realm is going to see change, and everything may be reshuffled. Unlike the years before, this is reshuffling in its truest sense. and I have no way of telling if the Heavenly Mandate Academy would be able to stay around in the realm. It was apparent that Lord Taishian was feeling pessimistic about things. There were simply too many foreign forces coming in, and some were indeed very terrifying. Worse still, from the looks of the recent turn of events, the Origin Realm might become a battlefield. There was no telling how many innocent lives from the Origin Realm would be lost. That one that just hit us is in this. Are they from the Divine Prefecture too? Futian asked. Yeah, a titan from the Divine Prefecture indeed. The leading figure is extremely powerful, every bit on par with Emperor Nan. Lord Taishian nodded. Emperor Nan confirmed what he just said. Futian sighed. He had learned this firsthand many years ago, be it the Song Imperial Palace, the Holy Land of Taichu, the Shun clan of the Upper Worlds, or the Sun God Mountain, all looked down on the Origin Realm. The way they saw it, the Origin Realm was a lower world and one that was sealed. As such, they showed little restraint and did as they pleased. After making their move against the Heavenly Mandate Academy, they dared to stay in Heavenly Mandate City itself, probably knowing that the Academy wouldn't dare to do anything against them. Futian then turned his eyes at Duan Tianxiong and said, Could you look into their background for us, senior? Duan Tianxiong was the lord of the ancient royal family of Duan, reigning supreme somewhere. He was of middle third heavens of the Shangqing domain. His breadth of knowledge meant that he would know a lot better about the many forces from the Divine Prefecture. Sure. Duan Tianxiong spread his will out, enveloping the entire place, and coming right above the place where that other party was. The cultivators over there frowned, especially the leading figure. He looked far away, and saw a spectral face up in the sky, which was none other than that of Duan Tianxiong. He then said with a booming voice, I'm of the Duan clan of Shangqing domain. May I know where you are from, sir? The leading figure had a terrifying presence. He looked up at that face and replied casually, Mithraism of the Tongtian domain. Duan Tianxiong looked at the figure, and then gradually disappeared. He then told Futian back at the academy, Mithraism of the Tongtian domain of the 18 domains. They are not quite considered top-notch among those found in the Divine Prefecture. Middle class, I'd say. According to what I could speculate, that would be on par with the ancient royal family of Duan. The Mithraism Hierophant is the more powerful among them, and he probably is here personally. Understood. Futian nodded. He then looked at the ones around him, especially those considered top-notch. The allied forces of the Heavenly Mandate Academy were anything but weak, and one of the reasons they were bullied was because the foreign forces were more numerous, and they didn't care much for the native forces. Other than that, the Heavenly Mandate Academy had a lot of enemies and restraints. The academy was right there in the city, and had a lot of cultivators in it. In contrast, the foreign forces had all brought only a group of their own people, which meant they had little to care about. At present, the one very top-notch figure by his side was Lord Taishian, whose injuries were to such extent that he could be taken out of the equation. Other than Lord Taishian, there was also Emperor Nan, the Sky River Great Elder, the Palace Lord of the Divine Palace, as well as Old Ma. Even without Duan Tianxiong, they would still stand a chance of killing one top-notch figure. Are there any other top-notch figures other than the Mithraism Hierophant? Or are there any other forces affiliated with them? Futian then asked Duan Tianxiong telepathically. Duan Tianxiong's pupils contracted slightly as he stared at Futian. He could tell from Futian's words what Futian meant. Probably none. Duan Tianxiong then answered. Are you thinking what I think you're thinking? Old Ma is versed with spatial powers, meaning that he could lock down the battlefield. I'm thinking in that case, the rest of you seniors will be able to get the fight done quickly. Futian answered telepathically. Duan Tianxiong's eyes glittered. Theoretically speaking, with so many formidable ones taking on a single person, they should be able to securely deal a crushing blow if they were to go all out, which meant that it would indeed be possible for them to fight and get rid of the enemy quickly. Furthermore, the Heavenly Mandate City was not actually huge, and there were other top-notch forces around. There was then the concern about the other forces coming to the aid of those of Mithraism, if they were to act against the members of that cult. It would be a lot of trouble heading their way if they were not to kill the enemy. Have you thought about what happens if we fail? Duan Tianxiong asked. We would have still succeeded in intimidating them even if we fail. They weren't that concerned when they acted out against the Heavenly Mandate Academy back then, Yi Futian said without much care. There were no other forces back at Shangqing Domain that dared to touch the Four-Corner Village without hesitation. If the other forces from Divine Prefecture were to look into it, they would be as wary of the Four-Corner Village as well. After all, the battle which the master fought right outside of the village brought an absolute intimidation factor. Duan Tianxiong played the scenario out in his mind. If they were to act at the same time, they would give the enemy a lesson that they wouldn't forget, even they were to fail. That would prevent the enemy from retaliating without hesitation in the future. If the operation were to succeed, that would be the end of Mithraism, and there would no longer be any loose ends. There were concerns with the Imperial Palace, but since it was the other party that attacked in the first place, there was nothing much the Imperial Palace could say about it. As such, although Yi Futian's thoughts were bold, they were doable. If you really do intend to do this, I can help you stall the other forces and buy you some time, Duan Tianxiong said. The other forces will definitely show up if they were to act. He would be able to buy Yi Futian and the others some time if he were to stall those other forces. If they succeed in killing the Hierophant, they would be able to shock everyone around. Thank you, Yi Futian said. Both communicated telepathically, yet Emperor Nan and the others were perceptive enough to tell more or less what was going on, and that Yi Futian seemed to be in some kind of discussion. Yi Futian communicated his thoughts to them telepathically afterward, causing Emperor Nan, Lord Taixian, and the others to take a good look at him. What he proposed was a bold move. With so many powerful foreign forces showing up and so many forces having taken them on before, that move would have probably triggered something, and was indeed risky. However, it was worth a try nonetheless. Intimidating the foreign forces aside, they saw it imperative to take revenge for the serious injuries that they had inflicted on Lord Taixian. This is feasible. Emperor Nan voiced his agreement. Emperor Nan had been something deemed capable of slaying gods many years ago. He had been behaving himself for many years, especially after his daughter, Nan Luotian, was born. With the origin realm now in peril, he deemed that it was time to cast away some of his restraints. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. The group in the Heavenly Mandate Academy came to a decision during that telepathic discussion. Yi Futian rose and left the place with old Ma and those from the village following right behind him. Emperor Nan, Duan Tianxiong, and the others remained behind in the academy instead of following them. The group in the Heavenly Mandate Academy came to a decision during that telepathic discussion. Yi Futian rose and left the place with old Ma and those from the village following right behind him. Emperor Nan, Duan Tianxiong, and the others remained behind in the academy instead of following them. Yi Futian was to get there first, the rest would show up later. While Heavenly Mandate City was quite vast, it was not that huge of a place for people like Yi Futian. All of them got to the air and flew at blitzing speeds, reaching the place where the cultivators of Mithraism were before long. The people of Mithraism all sat there. The Hierophant was a middle-aged man wearing a golden robe. It dazzled under the sunlight. His hair was tied up, and he looked magnificent. He then took a look at old Ma, and knew that the man was anything but ordinary. That man was one of the top-notch fighters just like him. All the others following behind were powerful as well, which surprised him somewhat. He had never seen those people around in Heavenly Mandate City, speculating that those people were from the Divine Prefecture. The ancient royal family of Duan from the Shangqing domain was there as well. The only thing that he was oblivious to was what those people had to do with the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Greetings, Mithraism Hierophant. My name is Yi Futian. Yi Futian greeted the Hierophant while staying in midair. Yi Futian. The Hierophant felt that the name sounded rather familiar. It was like he had heard it somewhere in the Void Realm. At that moment, some cultivators in the area were feeling very shocked, with their sight nailed at that silver-haired young man. They were not the only ones. With many other powerful cultivators saw it when Yi Futian was making it his way there from the academy. There were a lot of other Renhuang realm figures appearing far away, looking where Yi Futian was. They were all very shocked. Yi Futian had actually survived that battle 20 years ago. He had returned. Countless cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate realm bore witness to that battle. Almost everyone in the city saw that intense battle taking place in the air, and they all wondered, how did Yi Futian manage to survive? That legendary being, who had been very renowned among the 9 realms 20 years ago, was thought to be an unparalleled genius who had been dead for 20 years. Yet there he was, standing alive and well before everyone. There was lots of chatter going around. The Hierophant scanned the area with his will, and sensed that countless people were talking about Yi Futian. He couldn't help but feel intrigued. Looking at that silver-haired young man in midair, he asked, "You seem to be famous in this city." "I'm famous not only in the Heavenly Mandate city. 20 years ago, I was famous in the entire Heavenly Mandate realm, and even the 9 realms," Yi Futian answered while standing in midair. Wills were since scanning that place at that moment. It was apparent that many cultivation forces were paying attention to what was happening over there. While Yi Futian sounded like he was talking big, everyone from the city knew that he was telling nothing but the truth. There was literally no cultivator in the Heavenly Mandate realm who didn't know of Yi Futian's name. The Hierophant looked at him. Yi Futian continued, "I was the one who pushed for the establishment of the Heavenly Mandate Academy more than 20 years ago. I was the one who consolidated the forces of the entire Heavenly Mandate realm, making the Academy the holy land for cultivation throughout the realm. Your level of training more than 20 years ago shouldn't be that high. It'd be rather extraordinary of you to be capable of such achievements," the Hierophant said. He was naturally able to sense Yi Futian's level 6 of Renhuang realm. That meant that Yi Futian probably wasn't at the level he was currently at 20 years ago. "I was doing fine. I heard that you came from the Divine Prefecture, sir, and that you acted against the Heavenly Mandate Academy," Yi Futian then added. "So?" The Hierophant looked up at Yi Futian with very pointed eyes. There seemed to be a very powerful force washing all over the place in that instant, shrouding over Yi Futian and making him feel stifled. "Nothing much. I've just returned from the Divine Prefecture as well, and I'm curious just how powerful Mithraism from the Tongtian domain actually is, seeing how you dare to do as you please in Origin Realm," Yi Futian added. "As such, I'd like to see if there's anyone from your cult considered capable." Several people around the Hierophant, who were all at the Renhuang realm, emanated a very powerful presence. There was even an elder who was at level 9, who harbored an extremely frightening aura. All of them looked up at Yi Futian, noting that the young man was indeed there asking for trouble, wanting to fight someone at the Renhuang realm from the cult. The cultivators of the city far away were all shaken to their core, seeing how Yi Futian went on to challenge Mithraism, who had acted against the Heavenly Mandate Academy right after he returned. "Who among you will heed the challenge?" The Hierophant sat where he was and asked everyone casually, seemingly unfazed by what was happening. Nothing much could happen with him in charge after all. Someone who was at level 7 of Renhuang realm rose to the air. His eyes were filled with fiery divine light, and they emanated a frightening aura. Old Ma and the others backed away, making space for Yi Futian and the cultivator who just emerged. Boom! A frightening might of the great path washed all over the place, shrouding over Yi Futian. The sky seemed to have been shrouded by the flames right away, and a terrifying ring of fire appeared right above Yi Futian, which turned into a terrifying region of flames. The flames roared and shot at Yi Futian right away. All eyes were on Yi Futian. However, he didn't bother evading, and simply stood his ground until the roaring flames engulfed him altogether. That cultivator at level 7 of Renhuang realm glared at Yi Futian, wondering if he had a death wish. The flames were destructive as they surrounded Yi Futian. However, he looked like he was simply basking in the flames, standing quietly in the air, letting the flames engulf him without moving a muscle. "That's all?" Yi Futian asked with a calm tone. Yet those 2 words were like a massive insult. That cultivator at level 7 of Renhuang realm then conjured a terrifying sun halo. Beams of divine light shot from it, and he seemed to have turned into a sun god. He then stepped out and threw a palm attack at Yi Futian, which looked like it could shroud and burn down the skies. The intense heat from the palm attack was terrifying. Yet, he saw that Yi Futian simply remained standing around like he saw nothing. That cultivator from Mithraism was very formidable in the cult, and he had never been belittled before. That terrifying palm attack blasted out right away, and Yi Futian simply extended his hand and clapped at it calmly. Boom! The flames were extinguished right away, and the palm attack was shattered. That man was sent flying backward and spitting blood. All of his internal organs felt like they had been ruptured by that one attack, and his aura got increasingly weak by the second. What happened caused several cultivators at the Renhuang realm from the cult to stand up while staring at Yi Futian. Towering aura washed all over the place, putting extreme pressure over the sky. Yi Futian was then seen scanning those people, and the look in his eyes remained filled with contempt. None of them felt like a threat to him. So this is a force from the divine prefecture then? You're welcome to come at me all at once, he then said. The Hierophant wore a cold expression right there and then. He was naturally able to sense that while Yi Futian was only at level 6, his great path was perfect. Yi Futian's current level of powers had fully enabled him to fight common cultivators at level 8 of Renhuang realm. Overbearing auras burst, and several cultivators at Renhuang realm came right at Yi Futian. Old Ma flashed and came to the side of the Hierophant, causing the Hierophant to turn his eyes at him. However, Old Ma had no intention of making a move. He simply looked at the sky and said, "They probably aren't a match for him after all." Those cultivators charged at Yi Futian, who burst with frightening pressure from his body. He took a step out into the sky, and divine light glittered on his body, like a divine body shining with a dazzling glow. He looked at those people coming at him, and he remained unflinching. Kill. All of them were onto him soon enough, and terrifying palm attacks were thrown at him right away. Boom! Extremely terrifying might washed all over the place. The attacks blasted onto his body right away, yet his body simply burst with an unparalleled blinding aura. Those who charged at him were shocked to see what happened, noting that they failed to make him budge at all. At the very next moment, a terrifying spatial storm formed around his body, and he was seen shooting upwards. All of those cultivators felt as if their bodies had been put under lockdown, shooting into the clouds alongside him. Boom! The Hierophant stood up, and his powers reached unbelievable heights in an instant, extending his hand right away to grab at Yi Futian, who was in the sky. A spatial divine beam emerged. It shrouded the entire place, blocking his move. Old Ma then appeared right above him. Boom! Old Ma waved, and the people from the village disappeared right away. He continued to rise to the sky at the same time. The Hierophant stepped into the air, causing the place to rumble as he shot to great heights. It didn't take them long to reach the sky above the heavenly mandate city. Countless cultivators turned to look at where they were at once. Yi Futian stopped and looked down. Several mighty ones from the four-corner village made their move as the Hierophant shot to the skies, making their way to the surrounding areas right away. The Hierophant sensed towering might and scanned around him. He then saw frightening spatial powers around him, locking down the area he was in like some kind of divine walls. It was then that he realized that Yi Futian hadn't been there to fight those cultivators at Renhuang realm. They were there for him. Those top-notch figures from the Heavenly Mandate Academy intended to hunt him down, and he never expected that those people would actually have the guts to hunt him down right before the many cultivation forces around them. A towering aura swept all over above the Heavenly Mandate city, with several terrifying powers bursting in several different directions. A storm whipped up in the sky in an instant, causing all cultivators in the city to be in shock as the storm swept past. Some who were of weaker training were reduced to trembling in fear under all that pressure, lying on all fours right away. A towering aura swept all over above the Heavenly Mandate city, with several terrifying powers bursting in several different directions. A storm whipped up in the sky in an instant, causing all cultivators in the city to be in shock as the storm swept past. Some who were of weaker training were reduced to trembling in fear under all that pressure, lying on all fours right away. How insolent! A voice reverberated in the air. Those from top-notch forces, who were out to watch a show, saw that those from the Heavenly Mandate Academy were actually out to hunt down the Hierophant of Mithraism, and they were all in shock. Quite a number of cultivation forces had acted against the Academy back then. If those people from the Academy actually managed to kill the Hierophant, it would mean that those people would be coming for them next. With that being said, all of them sensed danger right away, so they burst with terrifying might in the air as well. However, the Academy had been prepared for such a scenario. Duan Tianxiong made his move right after those from the Academy made their move. He rose into the air, and a terrifying specter of a heavenly god overlaid his body. It was as if that specter had melded with him, and made him a god as well. Frightening rumbles were heard, and the place was placed in a lockdown. It was like a heavenly fortress was shrouding the vast space, and covering the battlefield. What he needed to do was, but to stall them for some time for Yi Futian, and the others to get enough time to finish the hunt. The others had naturally made their moves when Duan Tianxiong made his move. The handful of titans attacked at the same time. The Hierophant of Mithraism realized that he was being targeted. Old Ma stood high in the air, and countless spatial gates appeared on him as he made his way to the Hierophant. The gates seemed to be out of throw the Hierophant into the spatial turbulences. The Hierophant glittered all over, and became like a true god. The divine light of the sun burned the skies, and conjured a terrifying destructive power with him at the center. He kept moving forward, and the gates continued to burn as he moved. However, he seemed to be thrown into a chaotic space at that moment, with countless spatial gates circling around him. Boom! He raised his hand and attacked the spatial gates. That massive palm attack of his destroyed everything in its path. Yet at the same time, the others around him attacked as well. The divine sword Qinghe burst with brilliant bluish-green divine light, tearing everything in its path, and destroyed that incoming palm attack from the Hierophant as well, then kept moving in an unstoppable manner. Sky River Great Elder, the Palace Lord of the Divine Palace, and a divine monument came at the Hierophant at the same time, making it look like the space that he occupied was about to collapse. Boom! A terrifying divine fiery stream swept all over the place. The Hierophant put his hands together, looking like he was praying, and a burst of unparalleled force shot to the clouds. It burst through the spatial gates, looking like it was about to break through the divine walls on the outside. Divine light shrouded the Hierophant, and he seemed to have changed altogether, looking like some god. A massive idol of the sun god appeared in front, and the sun god looked like it would destroy everything as its divine flames burst, snuffing out any other power of the great path, and reducing everything to dust. The stream spread all over the place, and destroyed all of the spatial gates around with the divine light of flames. The Hierophant was naturally aware of what he was dealing with at the moment. His life was on the line, and he had to give it his all to fight. Several attacks that came at him were all repelled. Even Emperor Nan's divine sword Qinghe had to evade the Hierophant's might. The Hierophant was indeed mighty, and was incredibly capable. He was still at the perfection of the great path of the Runhuang realm, meaning that his combat prowess was extremely powerful. As far as one-on-one battles were concerned, none of the few attacking him dared to claim that they could beat him. Boom! Terrifying rumbles were heard on the outside, and the divine walls began cracking, making it clear that there were frightening battles taking place outside as well. Several formidable ones had acted against Duan Tianxiong at that moment, intending to get inside the walls. While Duan Tianxiong was indeed formidable, having to seal the place with his might of the great path, while holding all those people back was difficult. He could only hold on for so long. Old Ma and the others took a look at the sun god idol. They were able to sense its might. They knew right there, and then that it would be challenging to complete the hunt quickly. That sun god idol lit up the entire place, and the divine light emanating from it was powerful enough to tear everything in its path. "Make your move," Old Ma said, and spatial divine light lit up all over him as soon as he finished. He flashed and disappeared from where he stood right away, appearing right before that terrifying sun god idol. They all went right before the Hierophant. That was a distance that beings at their level could ignore altogether. Boom! The spatial divine light drowned out that sun god idol right away. Boundless spatial halos surged from old Ma, surrounding that sun god idol, and everything around it, including himself. A frightening destructive power burst from inside. Get moving! Emperor Nan and the others realized what old Ma was doing. He was going all out to help Yi Futian finish the operation. He was using his own might of the great path to devour that towering magnificent sun god idol. The Hierophant shouted angrily. His hands remained closed in midair. The towering divine flames were about to tear every power of the great path apart, emerging out of that spatial storm. The frightening spatial storm continued to burn, and looked like it could collapse at any given moment. The divine power of the Hierophant's great path surged inside. Boom! A terrifying palm attack blasted, and the Hierophant counterattacked by extending his hand to attack. His palm attack of the sun was terrifying, and it clashed with what was coming from the Sky River Great Elder. A terrifying divine tower shattered the divine light high up in the sky, and the Hierophant outward blasted with his other hand. At the same time, Emperor Nan's divine sword Qinghe came at the Hierophant yet again. Boom! A frightening rumble was heard, and Duan Tianxiong, who was outside, was eventually unable to hold any longer. The walls were destroyed, and everyone out there saw that massive space inside. They then saw blinding divine light stinging their eyes. The divine light of the sun blasted out in a frenzy. Yet, a divine sword capable of shattering everything hit the Hierophant. The Hierophant let out a pained roar as his power of the sun blasted Emperor Nan and the others. However, divine sword Qinghe went on to tear everything in its path, and that magnificent tower in the sky rained down the light of calamity, shattering the Hierophant's body bit by bit. A spectral figure appeared and looked like it was about to run. Yet Emperor Nan and the others were not about to give him that chance, tearing that apart alongside what they were already destroying. No! An anguished roar reverberated throughout the entire heavenly mandate city, shaking the sky. Countless cultivators from the city looked up, seeing blinding beams of divine light emanating. It was as if something had just been destroyed. The hearts of countless people raced, wondering if a top-notch figure had just been killed. On the battlefield, Emperor Nan and the others were all repelled, yet their eyes were all set in one direction, the place where old Ma was. A destructive, fiery aura was sensed from old Ma at that moment. His aura appeared rather weak, and his face looked somewhat charred as well. It was apparent that he was injured. He had paid some price to successfully kill the Hierophant of Mithraism. Are you all right? Emperor Nan asked, feeling rather impressed with old Ma's feats. He wondered what kind of relationship that man had with Yi Futian to be going to such lengths. That attack had been very, very risky, and old Ma was putting himself on the line. Any misstep, and he could have ended up with extreme injuries. I'm fine, old Ma replied and looked around him. A terrifying aura came down, and several top-notch beings stood in different places, yet none of them made a move. The man was already killed, and they were too late. The cultivators from the Heavenly Mandate Academy actually managed to kill the Hierophant of Mithraism. At that moment, all cultivators from the cult were shaking in fear. Many of their own had been taken down by Yi Futian, not far away from Duan Tianxiong. Those people were all trembling deep down, and their eyes nailed to the place where their leader had just been snuffed out. It seemed as if they had a hard time believing what just happened. The Hierophant is dead? Mithraism was a titan among the cultivation forces of Tongtian domain, reigning supreme, and their powers were mighty. The Hierophant was at the pinnacle of Runhuang realm, which meant that he was among those standing at the very top. They had all come to the void realm with a condescending mindset, looking down on the cultivators of the origin realm, seeing the sealed origin to be just a fractured, incomplete world that the divine prefecture had left in the dust. Yet their Hierophant ended up being killed in the origin realm. Despite all of them still being at the Runhuang realm, they all knew that that was the end for them. Boom! A terrifying power of both extreme yin and extreme yang surged into their bodies. Yi Futian hovered midair, and those whom he seized all wore twisted expressions. It didn't take long for all of them to get reduced to dust by that very power. All of them ended up killed. That caused the ones from forces originating from the divine prefecture to stare at Yi Futian, sensing an immense threat from him. Yi Futian scanned those fighters at the same time. The very reason why he killed all those whom he seized was to send a warning to those foreign cultivators, telling them not to throw their weight around in the origin realm. The death of the Hierophant of Mithraism would probably serve as a sufficient warning to those foreign forces that came to origin realm. At that moment, countless cultivators in the city looked up at Yi Futian, who just killed scores of cultivators at Renhuang realm, thinking that the number one legendary figure in the origin realm had finally returned. He had become even more terrifying at present, and those powerful cultivators at the Renhuang realm were little more than bugs before him. They wondered just how far had he transformed, coming back 20 years later from then. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Yi Futian didn't care what the others thought. He surveyed the crowd and was surprised to find an acquaintance among the people. Yi Futian didn't care what the others thought. He surveyed the crowd and was surprised to find an acquaintance among the people. Suddenly, Yi Futian's eyes sharpened as he focused on that figure in white. This middle-aged man in white came to the original realm more than 20 years ago and had participated in many battles afterward. He was a cultivator from the Holy Land of Taichu in the divine prefecture of the upper worlds. Once upon a time, he had taken the cultivators of Taichu Holy Land and intended to preach in the Heavenly Mandate Academy, then take over direct control of the academy, making it into one of the many branches of Taichu Holy Land. In those 20 years, had he left and came back again? Or had he been in the original realm all along? The middle-aged man in white clearly saw Yi Futian as well. His eyes had been following Yi Futian, the Renhuang sixth realm with perfect great path. Back then, when Yi Futian was killed, he was in the second realm of Renhuang. In 20 short years, he had crossed 4 major realms. This cultivation speed was unbelievably fast, something that even the top enchanting genius in Taichu Holy Land could barely follow. Of course, more importantly, Yi Futian didn't even die. How could Yi Futian still be alive? In that battle, various forces had participated, and they all witnessed Yi Futian hunted down in the attack. Back then, even the space itself was torn apart. There were a series of terrible spatial fissures that buried Yi Futian within them. In such a fierce battle, with lethal attacks from major figureheads, how could he have survived? However, Yi Futian was now in front of him. He brought with him the cultivators from Divine Prefecture. He had spent most of these years in the original realm, studying the situation here. All great changes in the world would begin in the original realm. This was something he had heard when he was still in the Holy Land of Taichu. That was the precise reason why the Taichu Holy Land had come here 20 years ago, wanting to preach here and take root in the original realm. He wanted to observe all the changes taking place here closely. Until now, more and more forces had arrived from Divine Prefecture. In addition, the Dark World, the Empty Divine Realm, and many other realms had infiltrated in the shadows. All the forces realized that after nearly 400 years of peace, the world might experience a new round of unrest, and the starting point could very possibly be the original realm. And all these principalities wanted to seize this opportunity. It could be said that the original realm had already sunk into chaos nowadays, and all foreign cultivation forces had come to prey upon them. "You're not dead?" the middle-aged man in white said as he looked at Yi Futian. Many forces had participated in that battle back then. If they had seen Yi Futian standing here, what would they think? Perhaps they would be even more astonished than he was. Yi Futian looked at the middle-aged man in white and saw that he was rather calm. He came from the Holy Land of Taichu in the Divine Prefecture, and this Holy Land was not just any ordinary top-level principality. It was a preaching force in the upper worlds of Divine Prefecture, and its power may be at a more transcendent level than most. Therefore, although he was surprised to see that Yi Futian had survived, he did not seem to dwell upon this disturbing fact. At least, as a Renhuang of the sixth realm, He was not yet a threat to the Holy Land of Taichu. I was lucky. You guys opened the spatial tunnel that allowed me to go to the Divine Prefecture. Yi Futian replied with a smile. It's impossible. The middle-aged man in white stared at Yi Futian. He was there at that battle. The spatial fissure only appeared after the attack. In other words, those aggressive attacks had torn through the space. The attack had fallen upon Yi Futian first, then tore through the space. How were attacks able to tear through space not able to kill Yi Futian? This made no sense at all. If it's impossible, then what am I? Yi Futian smiled. The middle-aged in white suddenly doubted his own judgment. Facts spoke for themselves. Yi Futian was standing in front of him now. If that was impossible, then what was the person standing in front of him? Yi Futian was standing here alive. And not long ago, he had hunted down a giant figure, the Hierophant of Mithraism. He had demonstrated superior combat effectiveness, easily obliterating a group of Renhuang. Among the Renhuang killed by Yi Futian, there were those at the 9th realm, which was considered at the peak of Renhuang. Even without perfect Great Path, the combat power at this level was far superior. So why were they so easily killed by Yi Futian? The Holy Land of Taichu was a preaching holy land, and they did a lot of studies on various realms. Cultivators with perfect Great Path at the 6th realm could deal with ordinary Renhuang of the 8th realm. But as a basic rule, they would have difficulty in dealing with those in the 9th realm. That was unless they were naturally gifted individuals with outstanding combat effectiveness. Perfect Great Path alone did not explain the ease he had killing Renhuang in the 9th realm, a feat that could not be achieved unless the person was an unparalleled talent. This meant that this white-haired young man, who was once known as the #1 genius talent in the original realm, remained a top-notch figure in all of the Divine Prefecture. The middle-aged man in white fell silent. Naturally, Yi Futian did not forget the events that had taken place in the past. It seemed that this guy could not be spared, and that a great battle in the original realm was likely. However, looking at Yi Futian's entourage, it seemed that it was more difficult than ever to kill Yi Futian. He had even brought 2 major figureheads with him, worthy of his reputation as a genius talent. The ancient royal family of Duan from the Shangqing domain. The old man in the white robe looked at Duan Tianxiong. He then directed his attention to Old Ma and said, "And this one, which force in the Shangqing domain is this one from?" "Four Corner Village," Old Ma replied. Four Corner Village. Those cultivators from Divine Prefecture looked at Old Ma. Clearly, they had heard of Four Corner Village before. The same was true for the old man in the white robe. Four Corner Village in the Shangqing domain was not a top principality before, but the great emperor favored it. It was rumored that Dong Huang the Great had once gone to Four Corner Village to seek the way before becoming the great emperor, therefore forging a relationship with the village. But he was not clear as to what changes had taken place inside Four Corner Village. And since when had the giants from Four Corner Village started to leave the village? However, the other cultivators from Divine Prefecture frowned. Before they came to the original realm, a major event had occurred in the Shangqing domain of Divine Prefecture. Because this matter involved those whose existence was on the level of the ancient emperor, the news spread quickly to other domains. Regarding the corpse of Xinjia the great emperor, one of the cultivators of Divine Prefecture set his eyes on Yi Futian, assessing him seriously before asking, "Are you that person in the Shangqing domain who was the only one to observe the corpse of Xinjia the great emperor?" Yi Futian glanced at the man. He didn't expect this matter as common knowledge among the top figures in other domains of Divine Prefecture. But it might as well. That battle in Four Corner Village had a strong deterrent effect. "Indeed, it was me," Yi Futian replied. That cultivator's eyes sharpened slightly. There was not much information about Yi Futian. What they had heard the most was that just before they went to the lower worlds, all the major principalities of the Shangqing domain descended upon Four Corner Village and coerced it with great pressure. However, they returned with their tails between their legs. One of the most powerful forces in the Shangqing domain, the clan leader of the Nanhai family, was grievously injured by a single blow. Moreover, that mysterious figure in Four Corner Village had activated the corpse of Xinjia the great emperor. This made Four Corner Village even more mysterious. And that teacher from Four Corner Village was an unfathomable figure. They had never expected that this enchanting genius talent, who could perceive the sacred remains, and who was connected to Four Corner Village, was actually involved with the Heavenly Mandate Academy in the lower worlds. No wonder he was so daring as to slaughter the Mithraism Hierophant outright. It seemed that he had the backing of that mysterious cultivator inside Four Corner Village. This Heavenly Mandate realm was no longer so easy to provoke. The middle-aged man in white from the Holy Land of Taichu frowned. He had not heard of this event before. It seemed that Yi Futian had also caused quite a stir in the land of Divine Prefecture. But all the giants from the upper worlds were now becoming a little more cautious. In the future, we will no longer participate in the matter regarding Heavenly Mandate Realm. How about we forget all the unpleasantness from the past? A top figure from Divine Prefecture said. With Four Corner Village behind Yi Futian as support, there was no need to engage with them. They would simply avoid the Heavenly Mandate Realm in the future. Yi Futian stared at the man who spoke. If he allowed this, who was going to be responsible for injuring Lord Taixian? That will work. But Lord Taixian of the Heavenly Mandate Academy responded, "Everyone, withdraw from the Heavenly Mandate City henceforth, and we will forget about what happened before." Although he could see that Yi Futian had made some connections outside, he did not want Yi Futian to make too many enemies. This battle had killed the Mithraism Hierophant and attracted the attention of these people already. If they really wanted to, they would undoubtedly unite against them. Coupled with enemies of Heavenly Mandate Academy from before, who had been eyeing them all these years, and had been pressuring their allies in the Ziwei realm, as well as the Imperial realm. If they continued making enemies, the pressure would only increase. And now with chaos at hand, his injury was nothing by comparison. He only hoped that Yi Futian's return could save the Heavenly Mandate Academy and ensure its survival in the challenging times ahead. Yi Futian looked at Lord Taixian, who had come to his side. He transmitted his voice to Yi Futian. "Without them, there will be other forces. Let it go. If you really want to, remember the person who injured me, and wait until you reach the top of Renhuang realm. Then you can do what you please with him." "Who was it?" Yi Futian asked. This was the first time that Lord Taixian had mentioned the person who injured him. Before, Emperor Nan had said that many forces were involved, but the person who caused Lord Taixian to be injured by the Great Path would be the one who actually struck him. He is not in the Heavenly Mandate realm now, and at present none of us can deal with him. For the time being, just leave it alone. You can avenge me later. Lord Taixian was very cautious. Clearly, the opponent this time was formidable, and he was worried that Yi Futian would act impulsively. Very well. Yi Futian nodded in response. In the Holy Land of Taichu, the master of Taichu's sparring grounds was someone with monstrous cultivation. Even Emperor Nan was unequivocally suppressed when facing him. If he is determined to attack the Heavenly Mandate Academy, it will be difficult for the Academy to exist. But this man was haughty beyond imagination, and cared not to attack anyone below the level of figureheads, so he did not unleash his lethal attacks. Not long ago, because of something that happened elsewhere, he left for the time being. But the threat this man poses to the Heavenly Mandate Academy is a frightening thought, Lord Taixian said via voice transmission. Yi Futian was deeply surprised. It appeared that he needed to understand from Duan Tianxiong just how strong the Holy Land of Taichu, this preaching Holy Land in the Divine Prefecture, really was. The master of Taichu's sparring grounds should be the elder of Muchinka, who had fought him once, and would be the strongest person who came to the Holy Land of Taichu this time. No wonder Lord Taixian had been secretive about the identity of the person who injured him. Even though he had brought 2 cultivators, Lord Taixian knew that it was tough to deal with that transcendent existence from the Holy Land of Taichu. The cultivators of all forces departed. When the middle-aged man in white, who was from the Holy Land of Taichu, saw everyone else had left, he departed as well. It seemed that he needed to investigate the situation inside the Divine Prefecture and find out what exactly happened concerning the corpse of Xinjiao the Great Emperor. The cultivators of all forces departed. When the middle-aged man in white, who was from the Holy Land of Taichu, saw everyone else had left, he departed as well. It seemed that he needed to investigate the situation inside the divine prefecture and find out what exactly happened concerning the corpse of Xinjia the great emperor. It seemed that Four Corner Village, which used to stay away from the world of cultivation, was now a force that posed a great threat. There were still many people in the lower strata of Mithraism. Watching the departure of their top leaders, they felt a little hopeless. The moment the Hierophant was killed, they knew that Mithraism as an organization was over. Without peak-level figures, it was virtually impossible to gain a foothold in divine prefecture. Even if they did not disband on their own, they would become prey to the other forces. On the surface, all the top forces that were involved in cultivation and divine prefecture appeared to coexist peacefully. However, under the surface of that calmness was extreme cruelty. The loss of any top figures would mean the loss of their standing in the cultivation world. Even if they did not disband, their cultivation resources would be snatched away by others, or even the enchanting figures in their sect might defect to other principalities, which would spell disaster. Of course, at the moment, they were still awaiting the judgment from Heavenly Mandate Academy. Futian glanced down at them and said, "If I find that any of you kills one more person in the original realm, I will kill you all." However, those cultivators were relieved when they heard Futian and walked away without any arguments. All the really powerful people among them had already died at Futian's hands. Mithraism was over, and none of them wanted revenge, as that would only spell their own deaths. Let's go back. After the battle had concluded, Futian and the others returned to the Heavenly Mandate Academy. The cultivators of the academy were excited beyond words. Before, there was always a dark cloud hanging over their heads, pressing down on their hearts. The first battle after Futian's return had dissolved the Heavenly Mandate Academy's immediate concerns. At least, there was no need to worry about the sword that was hanging above the Heavenly Mandate Academy. If they had not shocked and awed these opponents, they may come back at any time and attack the academy. Now that the Hierophant of Mithraism had been killed, other forces had also retreated and would not dare to move on the Heavenly Mandate Academy lightly. However, Futian's heart was still heavy, and Lord Taishuan's words put him under more pressure. For Corner Village had the teacher as an effective deterrent, but he was not the teacher after all. There were too many forces that had come to the original realm this time. Heavenly Mandate City alone was stationed by several major forces. Coupled with supreme forces, such as the Holy Land of Taichu, he realized just what kind of reality the original realm was facing today. They had the strongest alliance in the original realm, but still faced such terrible pressure. What kind of pressure came from the rest of the forces in the original realm? Today's original realm was already the playground of outside cultivators. When all the cultivators gathered together, Futian asked Duan Tianxiong, "Does Elder know much about the Holy Land of Taichu? It's the top holy land for cultivation in divine prefecture. Surely I know of it." Duan Tianxiong nodded slightly. In the 18th domains of divine prefecture, there are a few cultivation holy lands similar to the Holy Land of Taichu, but they are basically the same as the ancient royal family of Duan. However, the Holy Land of Taichu is different. It's a well-known cultivating holy land in the entire divine prefecture. The symbol of the Taichu domain, even Taichu domain chief's manor, has to show their respect. In the Taichu domain, the Holy Land of Taichu was more like its core. The Holy Land of Taichu has produced many extraordinary cultivators, and the entire Taichu domain is under its influence. Cultivators from all the continents in the domain are proud to enter the Holy Land of Taichu to cultivate, and would travel, no matter the distance, to seek the way there. The Taichu Saint Emperor is an unparalleled Run Huang, and must have experienced the Great Tribulation to get to where he is. Beneath Taichu Saint Emperor, there are several top figures, one of whom is the master of Taichu sparring ground. As far as the outside world knows, there are at least 5 giants in the Holy Land of Taichu, a true behemoth, Duan Tianxiong explained to Futian. Futian's eyes sharpened slightly. No wonder the Holy Land of Taichu was so overbearing when it came to the original realm, intending to preach there as if it was a favor to them. Now it was revealed that the person who was tasked with this assignment in the lower worlds was not the topmost figure himself. That cultivator in white and the purple robe war emperor were not true representatives of the peak combat power from the Holy Land of Taichu. No wonder Lord Taixian was being so cautious. 20 years ago, what forces came to the original realm? Duan Tianxiong asked. It seemed that 20 years ago, some things happened here, and Yi Futian had some interaction with Taichu Holy Land. Song Imperial Palace, Sun God Mountain, the Sheng Clan, Celestial Worthy Mountain, and possibly the Mo Clan. There may be other forces in the shadows, said Yi Futian. Duan Tianxiong frowned slightly when he heard his answer, a surprised look on his face. No wonder, Duan Tianxiong said. The powers that you speak of were powerful forces in the divine prefecture, so they first came to the original realm. Back then, there was no order from the great emperor, and you offended these forces? How could Yi Futian have known about these forces in the first place? Listening to Duan Tianxiong's explanation, he understood that these forces were the giants among the giants in divine prefecture. Several forces were targeting me at the Heavenly Mandate Academy at the time, said Yi Futian. Later, they wanted me to die and joined forces to hunt me down. I faked my death and went to the divine prefecture instead. It's amazing that you are still alive, Duan Tianxiong said. So, you have already exposed your superior talents in the original realm to the point that they wanted to exterminate you. Now that the passage is open, and with even more powerful cultivators coming, you better not provoke these forces just yet. Yi Futian nodded slightly. Everyone around him looked solemn after hearing it. Back then, it was not our intention to offend them, but we had no choice. Emperor Nan said. To this day, the Heavenly Mandate Academy has never taken the initiative to attack anyone until just now with the Hierophant of Mithraism. Survival in the world of cultivation was often without much choice. Even though he knew those forces were powerful, he had no choice. It seems that the battle at Four Corner Village in the Shangqing domain was necessary after all. The teacher had instilled fear in the world with this battle, and anyone who cultivates in the divine prefecture will hear about it eventually and take heed, Duan Tianxiong said. Yi Futian knew he was referring to the departure of some top cultivators not long ago, as partly due to the deterrent effect of that battle. Outside the Heavenly Mandate Academy, Yi Futian's return and the death of the Hierophant of Mithraism caused an uproar. Especially in the Heavenly Mandate City, news spread at lightning speed throughout the entire Heavenly Mandate realm, and the whole realm was shaken. Yi Futian, the #1 genius talent in all of 9 realms, and perhaps even in all of 3,000 realms of the Great Path, first became known in Heavenly Mandate realm and founded Heavenly Mandate Academy to preach and cultivate. Countless people in the realm admired and respected Yi Futian, but they were also the ones who suffered the most from the news about Yi Futian's death. Now he was back, returning with the cultivators of divine prefecture, having slain the Hierophant of Mithraism. Furthermore, they knew very well that Yi Futian's return concerning not only Yi Futian's own power, but his future. This was a monstrous genius talent that could shake the 9 realms to their core, and cause the cultivators in all 9 realms to join forces to extinguish him. Those forces would find it difficult to rest at ease as long as he was alive. They heard that the first Upper Ren Huang who attacked Yi Futian after his return could not split his physical body. Such a mighty Ren Huang was easily exterminated by Yi Futian like an ant. After the cultivator in white returned to the Holy Land of Taichu, he started to investigate what had happened in the divine prefecture regarding the corpse of Xinjia the Great Emperor. Not long after that, he was shocked by the news he received. Yi Futian was known throughout the Shangqing domain as the only person who was able to comprehend the power within the body of Xinjia the Great Emperor. Furthermore, in the battle for the corpse of Xinjia the Great Emperor, a mysterious cultivator from Four Corner Village was able to control the body of Xinjia the Great Emperor perfectly while outside of the village. It erupted with the unimaginable power of the gods. No one was able to withstand his attack, and the clan leader of the Nanhai family was seriously wounded by a palm strike. Since then, even the domain chief's manor in the Shangqing domain dared not demand the corpse of Shenjia, the great emperor, from Four Corner Village. The whole matter had been concluded. The cultivator from the Shangqing domain that arrived in the lower worlds was greeted by Yi Futian personally. At the same time, the Sheng clan, outside the temple, with several people standing there, looked into the distance. Someone appeared in the sky below and came to deliver some news. Yi Futian had returned alive. The white-haired young man, who had once led people to invade the Sheng clan, left a strong impression on its cultivators. It was impossible to forget him. 20 years ago, with all the forces surrounding him and hunted him, he did not die and had returned alive. At the same time, Tianshan Academy also received the news. In an attic, Jianao looked into the distance. Yi Futian had returned as a Run Huang of the Sixth Realms with a perfect great path. Jian Qingzhu left with Princess Donghuang a long time ago and had not returned. Now, to which realm had he gone to cultivate? He was a little worried. In the Shao clan of the Central Emperor realm, a group of cultivators broke through the sky at the same time and arrived at the palace that sat atop the Shao clan. They stared at each other as they got the shocking news just now. He came back. The Dou tribe in the Ziwei realm was a ramshackle existence now. They were now in a dilapidated state, as they had been invaded before. However, at this time, there was hearty laughter from inside the Dou tribe, vibrant and powerful. At the same time, in another place in the original realm, a group of cultivators seemed to emerge out of a gate from the void and came to the land of the original realm. This group was made up of mighty cultivators, their strength terribly powerful, and many were giant-level figureheads. Vice Chief, we have arrived in the original realm, someone said as he looked at a young man with a superb temperament. This young man was the Vice Chief of the Domain Chief's manor from the Donghua domain, Ninghua. The cultivators from the Donghua domain had descended upon the original realm. Chapter 2195, Reunion. Chapter 2195. Reunion. At the moment, inside the Heavenly Mandate Academy, the seat of an ancient temple was filled to the brim. It was full of cultivators. Multiple powerful and leading figures were inside the academy at the same time. The clan lord of the Dou tribe, the great elder of the Shao clan, Shao Dingtian, Yuanyang clan's clan leader, and the clan of the Seven Slayers clan leader had all arrived. By now, every practitioner of the Nine Realms had already learned of Yi Futian's return, as well as his killing of the Mithraism Hierophant shortly after coming back. The pressure on several of the major factions decreased instantly, and they each came to the Heavenly Mandate Academy to meet Yi Futian. Back then, the Heavenly Mandate Academy alliance was successfully established because of Yi Futian's influence. These leading figures agreed to an alliance because each of them saw Yi Futian's limitless potential. That was what prompted the establishment of the strongest alliance within the Nine Realms. It also gave birth to an opposing alliance that was just as frightening. In these 20 years, while Yi Futian had disappeared, they had maintained their alliance. After all, their enemies were too strong. If they did not work together, the end result could have been devastating. It was only because of the alliance's stability that nothing major happened to them until today. While they were facing a lot of pressure, it was not enough to impact their fundamentals. Now, after 20 whole years, their wait for Yi Futian, who faked his death, was finally over. His return would strengthen the alliance. The potential and talent that Yi Futian displayed also increased their confidence in the future. As long as they could keep hold of Yi Futian, they would be able to support a person to assume the role of the new King 3000 Realms of the Great Path. A person who could stand at the peak of the 3000 Realms of the Great Path. In the banquet, Yi Futian raised his cup and said to everyone, "Thank you, seniors and elders, for your hard work all these years. I went to the Divine Prefecture back then, and left everything here to you all. I am ashamed." As he spoke, he drank from his cup, and the other practitioners also followed suit, raising their cups. Shao Dingtian said, "The Nine Realms change is a trend of the world. It cannot be changed. In truth, It is only because of the alliance established back then that we are still safe and sound today. Some factions have already crumbled and dissolved. Among them, various factions of the Hidden Land realm have already yielded. The others nodded. Xiao Dingtian was correct. The changes of the 9 realms were a world trend that could not be stopped. If the world wanted to change, no one could prevent it from doing so. All they could do was to adapt and survive amidst the changes, and this powerful alliance had undoubtedly emboldened them. If they were to remain single factions, they would not have been able to withstand some of the more major changes and incidents. Moreover, it also provided opportunities to the younger ones. Dou Zhao and the others all managed to prove their paths and obtained a perfect grade divine wheel. After that, they went and followed Donghuang Princess to cultivate and train in the divine prefecture. These are all opportunities, said the clan leader of the Dou tribe heartily. That's right. Now we have to wait for their return, said Xiao Dingtian. Back then, Xiao Muyu proved her path and obtained a perfect divine wheel, resulting in her becoming the goddess of the Xiao clan. Everything had to be attributed to Yi Futian. Back in the day, in the original realm, practitioners who had perfect grade divine wheels were scarce. However, Yi Futian managed to create a team of such people single-handedly. It was comparable to a miracle. However, he managed to do it. Not only was his talent unparalleled, but he was also able to help others achieve greatness. It was due to this that everyone trusted Yi Futian and was willing to follow this junior forward. The changes of the original realm come from the strongest factions of the outer realms. The practitioners that appear are all influential and exceptional figures. If they did not have these opportunities, they would have only been able to look up and gaze upon those monster-like geniuses in the divine prefecture, said the clan leader of the Yuanyang clan. They were also clear on one truth. The original realm was indeed a prohibited land and could not be compared to the divine prefecture. If the next generation did not receive those opportunities, the gap between them and the geniuses of the divine prefecture would have been immeasurable. In truth, it was Yi Futian who made them. Dou Zhao, this little B***** has been gone in the divine prefecture for 20 years now. Who knows when he will come back and how his cultivation's been, said the clan leader of the Dou tribe with a hearty chuckle. They were all looking forward to the return of those who had left for the divine prefecture many years ago. The changes of the original realm led the imperial palace to order and provide domain chief manners to the 18 domains and allow the cultivators to enter the realm. Clearly, the imperial palace is very aware of the situation here. Since that is the case, the Donghuang princess should be bringing them back soon, thought Yi Futian. Then he said, I think it will not be long. Yes. Everyone nodded, agreeing somewhat to Yi Futian's guess. Why don't you tell us about your experiences in the divine prefecture these 20 years? We're quite curious, asked someone with a laugh. Yi Futian nodded and briefly summarized his experiences in the divine prefecture over the years, eliciting sighs and sympathy from his listeners, who knew that Yi Futian would encounter such tragedies and challenges immediately after entering the divine prefecture. He was almost killed. It was a good thing Xia Qingyuan followed along and was able to save Yi Futian. It was rare for the group to have this moment of leisure to chat about Yi Futian's experiences in the divine prefecture and the changes experienced in the original realm. After 20 long years, many things had changed. As people feasted and drank until they were half drunk, something strange seemed to originate from the sky. Everyone quickly shifted their gaze over and beamed their divine consciousness over. After that, several people became stunned. Following that, several hearty laughs came about. The brats are finally back, said the clan leader of the Dou tribe with a hearty laugh. Yi Futian stood up excitedly. He raised his head to look into the sky. Then, beams of lights flashed, and from afar, a group of people traveled and finally reached the sky above the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Seeing these figures, the people in the Heavenly Mandate Academy were very excited. Back then, the people who had perfect grade great paths and made a name for themselves by following Yi Futian back in the day had all come back from the divine prefecture. Moreover, each of their ori was a lot more exceptional. They looked a lot brighter than they were back then. Now they must have grown a lot stronger. After all, they left with Princess Donghuang. The group stood up in the sky and gazed down to look at many familiar faces. When they saw the white-haired youth, everyone was briefly stunned. Then, bright smiles appeared on their faces. So, you've come back as well. Dou Zhao looked quite excited when he looked at Yi Futian. Yes. Yi Futian nodded and said, I'm back. You little brat. You're ignoring me, roared the Dou tribe's clan leader. Ugh. Dou Zhao blinked several times. Then he looked at the clan leader of the Dou tribe. Old man, don't be so calculative. It looks like your bones have become hard after 20 years, said the clan leader of the Dou tribe. After that he cracked his knuckles, which made Dou Zhao shrink his head back a little. Every practitioner at the banquet smiled after watching that scene. At that time, the figures in the sky descended slowly. Yi Futian's excitement and happiness suddenly dimmed in his gaze. A tinge of worry could be seen in his profound eyes. Young brother. Young brother. Then, Sword Saint and Gu Donglu landed in front of Yi Futian at the same time. Yi Futian was naturally happy meeting his two senior brothers. They had not seen each other for 20 years after all. Big brother, second brother. Yi Futian shouted. Then he looked behind them and asked, Where's Jiyu? Hua Jiyu was not there. She did not return with the rest of the group. Hua Fenglu, Nanda Wenin, and Hua Ninyu also walked over to look at them. They were clearly apprehensive. Yu Sheng left with Mei Ting back then, but Jiyu left with the same group. However, right at that moment, they did not see Jiyu return. Younger brother, you do not need to worry. Jiyu should be fine, answered Gu Donglu. Back then, after you left, Jiyu experienced a complete life-changing awakening. After that she became silent. We do not know what had happened to her. However, your second sister has already spoken to her. Jiyu recovered her memory. After we reached the Divine Prefecture, Jiyu's cultivation rate was the fastest. Based on what Princess Donghuang said, Jiyu might have cultivated a long-lost secret technique that was from ancient times. She has many illusory bodies, which include Brahma's pure sky empress and Jyotian goddess. After reaching the divine realm, apart from cultivation, Jiyu moved alone. After a while she left by herself. The princess did not stop her. However, with her frightening progress, she may reach the Lady of Brahma's pure skies level soon. In addition, she has already reshaped her body of the path. She is definitely stronger than us, explained Gu Donglu to Yi Futian. Yi Futian listened to Gu Donglu closely. He would never have imagined such drastic changes occurring to Jiyu after he left. However, these were all good things. Back when he left, he was most worried about Jiyu. Back then, Lord Taixian and the others had warned him that Jiyu might not be the Jiyu that he knew. Brahma's pure sky empress cultivation was special. Jiyu could be her body of the path. Helping Jiyu cultivate might have been helping Brahma's pure sky empress. However, he still took care of Jiyu. Even though it was a new Jiyu, she was still his wife. Now, upon hearing from his second brother that Jiyu might have recovered her memories, he was happy. However, he did not know how she was doing. Nonetheless, it was still a relief. As he thought of that, Yi Futian showed a smile and looked at the others. Wuchen Yaya Xiaomuyu. Familiar faces one after another. They were all very close and personal. You're back. He patted Wuchen's arm firmly. Yi Wuchen's aura had also changed drastically. He looked at Yi Futian and smiled. Then he nodded and said, I'm back. Seeing that he was fine, Yi Futian was happy. Back then, the three of them left from a small place, and it was not easy to reach where they were today. Yi Sheng. Yi Futian wondered how he was doing. Yaya. Sword Master. Yi Futian habitually rubbed Yaya's head. Yaya also responded habitually by staring at him. 20 years later, this person's habits still had not changed. On the side, Swordmaster of Lihan could not help but smile after looking at the actions of these two. Only Yi Futian could thoroughly and completely subdue this Sky Sword Emperor. Normally, her tempers were ridiculous. No one would ever dare touch her head. They'd have been met with a sword to their face. Master. Xiaomuyu looked at Yi Futian excitedly. Her master really did not lie to her. He was still fine. Yes. Yi Futian replied. How's your cultivation? The Xiaomuyu now was completely different from the Xiaomuyu back then. Her aura of an empress was more outstanding. I'm a middle-level Runhuang now, Xiaomuyu smiled and answered. In the past 20 years, she had become a Runhuang of the 4th plane. She was actually not that far away from the 5th plane. Moreover, my divine wheel is still perfect, said Xiaomuyu proudly. Not bad. You have the demeanor of your master. Yi Futian laughed and said. Instantly, everyone around them also laughed. The relationship between this pair of master and disciple was truly quite hilarious. However, Xiaomuyu's respect for Yi Futian was truly from the heart. Seeing familiar and close friends one after another, Yi Futian was thrilled. If Yu Sheng and Jieyu were here, it would have been perfect. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2196, Quiet Guqin Tune. Chapter 2196, Quiet Guqin Tune. Gu Donglu, Yi Wuchen, and the others' return naturally made the practitioners gathered at the Heavenly Mandate Academy happy. In particular, the older generation was delighted after seeing that the younger generation had grown stronger. Sounds of laughter never ceased during the banquet. Everyone was happy, and the sounds of chit-chat came from every direction. Sword Saint Gu Donglu and Zhuge Mingyue gathered together. The cultivators from the demon realm gathered in another group. At the current juncture, the 3 major clans of the demon realm, Sky Demon Court, Dragon Clan, and the Divine Elephant Clan, had long become one. They were no longer constantly bickering with each other like in the past. Over the past few years, whether it was the few major demon clans that stayed behind in the Heavenly Mandate realm, or the younger generations who left for the Divine Prefecture, they had become sworn to life and death. However, after learning about the changes of the original realm and the invasion of the demon realm, Jun and Long Chun were still incredibly infuriated. Unexpectedly, after 20 years, the original realm did not revert to an orderly and peaceful state, and there were even signs that things would turn completely chaotic. Yi Futian did not say much during the banquet. He spent more time observing the conversations of everyone else. He looked at the older generation, asking those who had returned about events that occurred in the Divine Prefecture. He sat there and listened quietly, a bright smile hanging on his face all the while. However, underneath that smile and deep inside his heart was actually a sense of sadness. If one were to ask him who the 2 most important people were in his life, he would answer without hesitation that they were Jieyu and Yu Sheng. Even though Wuchen, his older brother, second sister and third brother, each held a significant position as well, and were people whom he would trust his life with, they could not replace Jieyu or Yu Sheng. It was just like even though he would give his life to protect his third brother. If one were to ask his third brother who was more important to him, Yi Futian or second sister, the answer would clearly be his second sister. And the fact was that these 2 most important persons of his life were absent in this gathering. The subtle sense of loneliness that he felt could not be hidden. It was impossible for him to lie to himself. Do you miss her? Xia Qingyuan gently asked Yi Futian. Yi Futian looked at the girl beside him and nodded gently. Back then, they worked so hard to finally find Jieyu, and now, he had not seen her in 20 years. How could he not miss her? Since third brother said she's alright, I'm sure she's fine. Since she has already recovered her memories, after learning of the changes of the original realm, she might come back herself, said Xia Qingyuan gently. Yi Futian looked at the girl whose head was slightly lowered beside him. As Xia Qingyuan was being considerate to him, he felt a sense of guilt. He knew that he owed this little princess of Emperor Xia's realm a lot. She could have been pampered and lived a life of luxury. However, she spared no thoughts of her life, and chose to go through the crevice of space to chase after him into the Divine Prefecture. She never complained, nor did she regret it. She also never asked for anything in return. Missing Jieyu? Zhuge Mingyue appeared on his other side, and looked at him with a gentle smile. Gu Donglu and the others also shifted their gaze toward them. A bit answered Yi Futian, gently nodding. Before Jiyu left, I spoke to her. While the battle against Brahma's pure sky empress was won, Brahma's pure sky empress became her. Even though Jiyu became a lot colder, perhaps it was because of your battle. Donglu also said it. Jiyu's cultivation rate is the fastest among all of us. She's growing at a ridiculous pace. Since this is the case, she will surely return by herself, said Zhuge Mingyue, as she stretched out her long and slender fingers to rub Yi Futian's head. Yi Futian let out an awkward smile. Only his second sister would treat him like this. Thank you, senior sister, Yi Futian said, smiling. I hope she comes back soon. You also don't have to worry too much about Yu Sheng. His relationship with the devil world is quite deep. The devil world is definitely a more suitable location for him to cultivate, said his eldest brother, the Sword Saint. Sword Saint knew about some things back then. He received a demonic blade once upon a time, a blade that he had been using since. Moreover, he received teachings about a demonic method, which he had been continuing to cultivate. He was now wondering what the relationship between that mysterious person and Yi Futian and Yu Sheng was. However, one thing he could confirm was that the devil world's devil general Mei Ting had come and brought Yu Sheng away. He was not that worried about Yu Sheng's safety. However, he did not know when they would be able to reunite. He cultivated in the Divine Prefecture and knew just how vast the Divine Prefecture was. It was a continent that had an endless border. However, the devil world was still a region outside the Divine Prefecture. So just where could it be? Who knew how far Yu Sheng was away from him? Unless the devil general brought him back, he did not know when they'd be able to meet again. Even though we are miles apart, we are still close brothers. It is just a matter of time. By the time you reach the peak, how can you not meet each other again? Asked Sword Saint. Yi Futian nodded. By now, all he could do was to work hard and continue to cultivate. It looks like I should also try to cultivate and train faster. Otherwise, I might be left behind by Yu Sheng, said Yi Futian, laughing. Yu Sheng, who had gone to the devil world to cultivate, must be growing rapidly. His experience and growth were definitely not inferior to the training and tribulation he went through in the Divine Prefecture. It was possible that Yu Sheng's training would completely release his talent and potential. By the time they met, Yi Futian could not be the one left behind. Dou Zhao snuck up to Yi Futian's side and asked, "What's your plane level now?" What do you want to do?" Yi Futian looked at Dou Zhao's glaring eyes. This bastard. His skin must be itching for a lashing. "I've grown somewhat in the Divine Prefecture. I just want to know how your cultivation's been these years." Dou Zhao's eyes shone. Over the years he grew tremendously. He cultivated and trained diligently every day. Before returning, he kept wondering when he would be able to spar a few rounds with Yi Futian or Yu Sheng. "Not bad. I'm at the 6th plane now. Is there any problem?" asked Yi Futian with a gentle smile. "Ugh." Dou Zhao's eyes widened as he stared at Yi Futian for a moment. He rolled his eyes and said, "It's fine. I'm just asking." Careless. Later, Xiao Muyu also came over and glanced at Dou Zhao with a smile. It looked like the guy had become a little bit full of himself and was looking for a beating. "Master!" shouted Xiao Muyu after she reached Yi Futian's side. "Yes." Yi Futian nodded with a gentle smile. "Master, have you been well over the past few years cultivating in the Divine Prefecture?" Xiao Muyu asked. "Do I look unwell?" Yi Futian shrugged his shoulders. "True. With your old man's talent and strength, how could you not shake the world and dominate an entire generation wherever you go?" said Xiao Muyu, laughing. "I have also grown a little bit over these few years. If possible, I'd like Master to give me a few pointers and tell me where my cultivation problems lie." "Sure." Yi Futian nodded. After that, the other people who returned from the Divine Prefecture came over to exchange a few words with Yi Futian. The practitioners from Four Corner Village and the Duan ancient royal family stood on the side, not interfering. However, they watched everything carefully. It seemed as if Yi Futian had a unique meaning to the Heavenly Mandate Academy. "You are his disciple?" Old Ma asked Xiao Muyu. Xiao Muyu naturally sensed that the aura emanating from this group of people was exceptional, particularly Old Ma. Xiao Dingtian made a brief introduction on the side and said, "This is an elder from the Divine Prefecture's Four-Corner Village. Your master is cultivating at his village." Xiao Muyu bowed slightly at old Ma, and the others upon hearing Xiao Dingtian's introduction. She seemed very polite. For Yi Futian to cultivate there, this place must be incredible. Yes. Old Ma smiled and nodded. "I do not have anything particular in mind for you. But your master did not tell you that you have several junior brothers and sisters now." Xiao Muyu was stunned. She turned around to glance at Yi Futian. She looked pleasantly surprised. Her master actually took in new disciples. "Are they here?" Xiao Muyu looked around old Ma. However, those practitioners all had outstanding auras. Every single one of them looked like they were amazing. So they probably weren't. "No, they are still young. They're at the village," said Yi Futian with a chuckle. "I do want to meet my junior brothers and sisters," said Xiao Muyu. "Then they are my junior nephews," Do Zhao said on the side. Back when Yi Futian received disciples on behalf of his master, they all went into Sky River Great Elder, and could be regarded as Qi Shuanggong's disciples. "If there's an opportunity, you should all head to the village and visit those little brats," Old Ma said with a gentle smile. With just a few words, he seemed to have become closer to the people there. Moreover, even though Old Ma was a powerful and influential figure, he always stayed in the village. So, a sense of simplicity emanated from his body, and it was easy for people to get close to him. "All right, I will definitely have my master bring me there," said Xiao Muyu with a smile. At the banquet, groups chatted as people talked about everything under the sky. Everyone was happy. After some time, people finally began to leave, albeit unwillingly. Yi Futian walked over to Hua Fenglu. Hua Fenglu and Nanda Wenin sat in the courtyard. Tang Lan and Ningyu were also there. "Why have you come here?" Compared to 20 years ago, Hua Fenglu had aged a bit. "I've missed you, old lady," said Yi Futian with a gentle smile. Hua Fenglu glared at him and said, "Relax. Even though I'm a bit older now, I'm still not that weak." Many people returned, but Jiyu did not. Seeing everyone gathering around, the ones feeling the worst were naturally Hua Fenglu and Nanda Wenin. They really suffered a lot, because of everything related to Jiyu back then. "Yes." Yi Futian nodded. "I'm just here to sit with you for a bit." "As you like," said Hua Fenglu as she leaned lazily back. Yi Futian actually brought a chair over and sat there. He sat there quietly, looking at Hua Fenglu and the others. Then, Hua Fenglu asked gently, "Have your Guqin skills become rusty?" "I probably still remember," answered Yi Futian. "Play a tune," said Hua Fenglu. "Okay." Yi Futian nodded. After that he crossed his legs and sat down. Moonlight descended from the sky and fell upon his gray hair, creating a scene that oscillated a sense of loneliness. The tune of the Guqin began slowly, as if it was the meditation tune that Yi Futian played when he first began learning the Guqin. Sitting quietly under the night sky, the tune of the Guqin surrounded them. Quiet and lovely. Apart from the silence of the night, the dancing musical notes seemed to be tinged with a sense of longing. Nanda Weinian glared at Hua Fenglu. Why did she ask Yi Futian to play the Guqin and evoke the longing he felt in his heart? Seeing the lonely figure, with Jiyu still away, he must feel terrible. Huan Yinyu sat with her elbows on her knees, holding her jaw with her palms. She listened to Yi Futian play the Guqin quietly. Hua Fenglu slowly closed her eyes. The tune of the Guqin surrounded them underneath the tranquil moonlight, as if they were in an exquisite scroll painting. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2197. The Truth Back Then. Chapter 2197. The Truth Back Then. Yi Futian, Gu Donglu, and the others returned from the Divine Prefecture. Naturally, they had many things to say to each other. This night was exceptionally quiet. In the morning, the Heavenly Mandate Academy still maintained its beauty of tranquility. The disciples of the Academy seemed to have become more energetic. Their confidence in the Academy's future was full again, after witnessing the return of Yi Futian and the others. They were no longer as pessimistic as before. The chaos of the 3,000 realms of the Great Path left the college chief, Lord Taixian, severely injured. Before this, the practitioners of the academy were similar to Lord Taixian, in that they were pessimistic about the academy's stature. They did not think that the academy was able to remain forever. If they did not want to be annihilated, they would have had to dissolve themselves sooner or later, so that they could remain safe. However, Yi Futian and the others' return was like a ray of light in the darkness. It brightened up the entire Heavenly Mandate Academy. Perhaps they could actually sail past this chaotic time and survive through this chaotic world. Yi Futian rested at the courtyard of Hua Fenglio's residence the day before. In the morning, Yi Futian woke up early. He served tea and greeted each of his teachers. The firsts were Hua Fenglu and Nanda Wenyan. After that, it was Qi Shuangguang and then Dozhan. He visited his teachers and walked around their neighborhoods while talking to his brothers. Now his plain level had already surpassed several of his teachers. However, these teachers aided him at different times in the past, and their kindness was something that Yi Futian would never dare forget. 20 years. He did not fulfill his duty as a student. So, it was natural that he would have to pay more attention and do more after coming back. After serving tea and greeting his teachers, Yi Futian returned. He then went to create and refine some pills for his teachers and other people of the academy. In terms of the situation outside the Heavenly Mandate Academy, he did not want to deal with them for now. However, as Yi Futian prepared to create and refine pills, he found out that it was difficult to do that. The reason was that quite a number of people came looking for him. Brother Futian. Linga was no longer the little brat back then anymore. However, her calling Yi Futian Brother Futian still revealed a sense of her lively youth. Yuwa Divine Palace's goddess Chang. She also came back from the Divine Prefecture. She also came to visit Yi Futian. Fei Shui also came from her grandmother Shen Luoxue's place to discuss some things with Yi Futian. In a short time, a huge crowd had formed around Yi Futian. Yi Futian did not think that they would be so early. So, he had no choice but to set his pill-making endeavor aside for the moment. The quiet and tranquil academy had not seen such life in a long time. However, the calm environment was quickly disrupted. The clouds and the winds above Heavenly Mandate City swirled, and a frightening aura descended from afar and pressed against the entire city. Ever since the establishment of the Heavenly Mandate Academy inside the Heavenly Mandate City, the ancient city had gone through several major events like this before. As a result, the people in the Heavenly Mandate Academy of the current day looked up in the sky calmly as they wondered, "What's happening?" Which big shot arrived. Inside the Heavenly Mandate Academy's different compounds, heads tilted upwards as gazes pierced through the sky and focused on the cultivators coming from other realms. Yi Futian, who was in the middle of a conversation, frowned. He raised his head and looked into the sky. His gaze pierced through the sky, and he instantly knew who it was. So fast. He had just come back and did not have time to visit this person. However, these people had already been contacted. They departed and arrived early at the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Moreover, his formation and team were the same as those from a few weeks ago. It looked extremely dangerous. Above the swirling clouds, figures that looked like divine giants stood tall, as if looking down on everyone. They specifically looked towards the Heavenly Mandate Academy. The heart of the Heavenly Mandate Academy's practitioners beat rapidly. It was a very familiar scene. It was as if they had gone back in time in an instant and returned to that battle 20 years ago. The battle to kill Yi Futian. No matter what happened, how could Yi Futian forget each and every one of those practitioners from the top factions? The practitioner of the Shen clan stood tall, wearing his stylish outfit. The cultivator from the Golden Divine Nation was equipped with his blindingly shiny golden gears. The unfathomable Jianao from Tianshan Academy, and the practitioners of Tianshan Academy. The cultivator of the Solar Divine Palace who bathed in the divine light of the sun, as well as the Sky-Reaching School, Martial God Clan, Celestial Worthy Temple, and the School of the Emperor Star. And finally, who could forget the cultivators from the Holy Land of Taichu? Both the White Robe cultivator and the Purple Robe War Emperor were present. Apart from those big shots, powerful renhuangs from various factions were also there. These factions did not come from one particular location. Instead, they communicated and came here all at the same time, to gather at the Heavenly Mandate Academy and descend into the Heavenly Mandate City. As such, a replica of the scene from 20 years ago emerged. In an instant, might shook the sky, and the entire Heavenly Mandate City was put under unparalleled pressure. At that moment, even powerful renhuangs on a high plane level felt their breathing hasten, their heart rate increase, and their blood pumping faster. A frightening formation. In comparison, common renhuangs were like ants. They would not even qualify to be in consideration of making that group. These big shots were all looking at Yi Futian. They had heard about Yi Futian's return. Several factions felt quite uneasy, especially some of the weaker factions. They also heard that Yi Futian did not only just return alive, but he had also brought a bunch of powerful figures along with him, and killed the Mithraism Hierophant. This operation was led by the Shen clan, Tianshan Academy, as well as a few other major factions from the Central Emperor realm. After all, they were mainly gathered in the Central Emperor realm. No matter what, if Yi Futian did not die and managed to gather a group of powerful allies, they had to come and have a look themselves. After all, this powerful alliance was capable of killing the Mithraism Hierophant directly. He was an immense threat to each of their faction. If his target was not the Mithraism Hierophant, but was one of them instead, what would have happened? He really is still alive. The clan leader of the Shen clan looked downward at Yi Futian. It felt kind of surreal. In the battle back then, one of the Shen clan's big shots and great elder Shinji died in battle. They suffered great losses, but at least they thought that they had got rid of Yi Futian. However, right now Yi Futian was in front of them. One could only imagine the emotions he was feeling. The Golden Divine Nation's sovereign's gaze was also very sharp. It pierced through the sky. He wanted to kill Yi Futian directly. 2 of his sons were killed by Yi Futian back then. As such, killing Yi Futian was a must. That final battle only took place because of their determination. Everyone thought that Yi Futian had died, to the extent that none of his remains were found. However, he was very much alive, and he had returned in a much stronger form. The college chief of Tianshan Academy, Jin Ao, stared at Yi Futian. Back then, even though his killing of Yi Futian was an injustice, after all, Yi Futian saved Jian Qingzhu before. Yi Futian was too outstanding. His existence completely dominated an entire generation. Even Jian Qingzhu did not have any hopes of raising his head. He wanted to send Jian Qingzhu to train in the Divine Prefecture, to let him have the chance to follow Princess Donghuang, so that the Jian family can return to the Divine Prefecture. As such, he wanted to kill Yi Futian to clear the obstacles for Jian Qingzhu. He wanted Jian Qingzhu to be number 1 in the original realm. Apart from these big shots, several faces familiar to Yi Futian also appeared, including an influential person who rivaled him back then. They heard that Yi Futian was now stronger to the point where he could even kill a renhuang of the 9th plane. "I hope you are all well," said Yi Futian while looking at the familiar figures that appeared in the sky. These people wanted to kill him and be done with it. He was also the same. If he had the strength to do so, he would kill them all without any hesitation. "How did you do it back then?" asked the clan leader of the Shen clan, staring at Yi Futian. The grudge was the deepest between Yi Futian and the Shen clan, as well as the Golden Divine Nation. The reason was from a long time ago. They suffered heavy losses in the battle against the Heavenly Mandate Academy in exchange for Yi Futian's death. However, they now discovered that they did not actually get anything in exchange. The Shen clan's clan leader's question was also on the others' minds. "Yi Futian, just how did he do it?" "I've said it before. Thank you everyone for opening the space passage which sent me to the Divine Prefecture to train," said Yi Futian laughing. "Perhaps if I had remained in the original realm, my cultivation wouldn't have progressed as fast." Oppressive might descended from the sky. "Did they make Yi Futian?" "Impossible," said the Shen clan's Shan Gao while staring at Yi Futian. Then he continued. "The attack landed on your body first before tearing a crack in the space. You were undoubtedly dead. unless you use the divine item to block that hit and escape your death. Shen Gao's words were exactly the thoughts on the others' minds. However, that frightening attack would even annihilate an amazingly powerful ritual implement. Only a true divine item could have truly blocked that attack. Yi Futian, what kind of divine item did he have on him? Gai Qiong suddenly recalled something. His pupils shrank slightly, and his face became distorted. Even though he had some guesses, he did not dare to say them out loud. He did not have any proof. Even if he had any, he might not dare say it in front of everyone. Before that battle, Princess Donghuang said that she had to be fair in terms of rewards and punishments. She first gave Yi Futian a treasure. Then she approved the battle. Back then, he did wonder about the prize that Princess Donghuang awarded to Yi Futian. Now that Yi Futian had come back alive, he vaguely guessed that Princess Donghuang had awarded Yi Futian with a divine item that allowed Yi Futian to preserve his life in that battle. Recalling it again now, that huge battle seemed a little bit too intentional. However, back then, Yi Futian really was in a desperate situation. As such, his wish of death, along with his determination to die, had not been questioned by any of them. Now, it looked like he actually knew that he was not going to die. Gai Qiong guessed it. Naturally, the others were not dumb. After that, Princess Donghuang invited the exceptionally talented people to follow her into the Divine Prefecture to train. Among these followers, the majority of them were practitioners from the Heavenly Mandate Academy. It was as if Princess Donghuang had favored Yi Futian. As they reached this conclusion, they felt saddened. They should have killed Yi Futian. However, 20 years ago, they were tricked by the princess. Moreover, they could not really do much about it. The princess' reward and punishment were fair and unproblematic. Yi Futian certainly deserved credit. However, even if someone were to voice it out, what could they do? Princess Donghuang's actions back then were also not a problem. Back then, the princess did not want Yi Futian to die. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.